The day of victory is at hand. The Jedi Order, guardians of peace and justice, have been eliminated. The Galactic Empire is now the supreme power in the galaxy. But as the night wears on after issuing the infamous Order 66, Emperor Palpatine finds himself unable to sleep, plagued by fear and anxiety. Why was Palpatine, a man known for his scheming and manipulation, so shaken after eliminating the Jedi? Was it guilt or remorse over the lives he took? Or did he have concerns about the potential consequences of his actions? Join us as we explore the surprising story of Palpatine's fear and insomnia after Order 66 and uncover the truth about his state of mind in the aftermath of this controversial event. Before we can fully comprehend Palpatine's fear following the issuance of Order 66, we need to examine his dynamics to the implementation of the protocol. Order 66 was a secret protocol within the Grand Army of the Republic that called for the immediate execution of all Jedi Knights upon activation. It was issued by Supreme Chancellor Palpatine during the Clone Wars and led to the near extermination of the Jedi Order. Prior to the issuance of Order 66, Palpatine had been consolidating power for some time. He was elected as Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic after the death of his predecessor, Finis Valorum, and had gradually accumulated more and more control over the government and military. During the Clone Wars, Palpatine used his position to manipulate the Jedi into serving his own ends. He used the conflict as an opportunity to further his own power and undermine the Jedi Order, which he saw as a threat to his authority. Yoda, on the other hand, was one of the most powerful and respected members of the Jedi Order. He served as a member of the Jedi Council and was a highly skilled warrior and diplomat. Despite his power and influence within the Order, Yoda was ultimately unable to prevent Palpatine's rise to power or the execution of Order 66. In the end, Palpatine emerged as a dominant figure in the galaxy, having successfully eliminated his rivals and cemented his hold on the government. The Jedi were all but wiped out, and the Galactic Empire was established under Palpatine's rule. Next up, how was Vader involved in the Order 66 execution? Let's investigate. Darth Vader was a Sith apprentice to Emperor Palpatine, also known as Darth Sidious in the Star Wars franchise. Palpatine was the mastermind behind Order 66, which was a directive issued to eliminate the Jedi Order. Vader played a key role in carrying out the order, as he was tasked with hunting down and killing any surviving Jedi. Palpatine saw great potential in Vader and trained him in the ways of the dark side of the Force. He eventually made Vader a Sith apprentice and tasked him with enforcing his rule and helping to bring about the downfall of the Galactic Republic. Vader was fiercely loyal to Palpatine and carried out his orders, including the execution of Order 66. The relationship between Vader and Palpatine was complex and often strained. Palpatine saw Vader as a valuable tool to be used in achieving his goals, while Vader was torn between his loyalty to Palpatine and his own personal struggles. Despite their differences, the two were connected by their shared goal of ruling the galaxy and by their use of the dark side of the Force. Moving on, why Palpatine was scared after Order 66. As the mastermind behind the Clone Wars and the execution of Order 66, it might seem strange that Palpatine would be scared or unable to sleep after the event. However, it's important to remember that Palpatine was not only a Sith Lord, but also a highly skilled politician and manipulator. He was constantly scheming and plotting, and always had to be on guard for potential threats to his power. After Order 66, Palpatine was the undisputed ruler of the galaxy, with the vast majority of the Jedi Order wiped out and the remaining survivors scattered and on the run. However, despite the seeming victory, Palpatine was still wary and paranoid. He knew that there were still Jedi out there who could potentially pose a threat to his rule. One such Jedi was Yoda, who managed to evade capture and escape into hiding on the planet Dagobah. Palpatine knew that Yoda was one of the most powerful and respected members of the Jedi Order, and he couldn't shake the fear that Yoda could one day return and challenge him. This worry kept him up at night, knowing that Yoda could potentially be biding his time and gathering strength to make a move against him. Additionally, Palpatine was also worried about the loyalty of his own apprentice, Darth Vader. Vader was a formidable Sith Lord in his own right, and Palpatine knew that he could potentially turn against him if he saw fit. This added to Palpatine's fear and anxiety, knowing that he could never fully trust anyone, even those closest to him. Overall, it's clear that Palpatine's fear and inability to sleep after Order 66 were a result of his own paranoia and mistrust of those around him. Despite his seeming victory and complete control of the galaxy, he knew that there were still those who could potentially challenge his rule and undermine his power. Following that, how the fear of Yoda made Palpatine try to flee their duel in Revenge of the Sith. Most fans have forgotten that in the Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, Palpatine appears scared of Yoda and even attempts to flee their combat. Among the few Jedi who survived Order 66 were Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi. When they returned to Coruscant, they were shocked to hear that Anakin Skywalker had succumbed to the dark side and that Chancellor Palpatine was a Sith Lord. He had secretly organized the Clone Wars as part of a clever power grab. The two Jedi Masters split their forces, with Obi-Wan going to Mustafar to meet Anakin and Yoda going to face Darth Sidious. Many focus on the conclusion of Yoda's confrontation with Palpatine, which saw the Jedi Grandmaster depart in defeat. A prevalent notion is that Palpatine, who considered himself the greatest of the Sith Lords, was superior to even Yoda, and yet for all that, a detailed examination reveals the two are far more evenly matched than is commonly assumed. Darth Sidious attempts to flee the combat at first, only drawing his lightsaber when Yoda prevents his escape. Furthermore, throughout the conflict, Yoda consistently adjusts to and even matches Palpatine, forcing his adversary to try new strategies. Palpatine despised Master Yoda, but he had no illusions that the Grand Master would be simple to destroy. He'd know that Yoda's midi-chlorian count was only second to Anakin Skywalker's. The Jedi Grand Master had no doubt mastered innumerable tricks and techniques throughout his life. Palpatine only seeks to flee after Yoda exhibits the ability to absorb Force lightning because he's suddenly confronted with the reality that the little Jedi Grandmaster may be able to match some of his best maneuvers. Surprisingly, when Palpatine pulls his lightsaber, he makes an unusual claim, promising Yoda that his student Darth Vader will be greater than any of them. Palpatine appears to be anticipating defeat and taking grim pleasure in thinking he will be avenged through Darth Vader. Finally, how Palpatine beat Yoda in Revenge of the Sith despite being scared. Of course, Palpatine was not defeated. He had the foresight to move the battle into the Senate, where he had a home field advantage. No doubt he had spent years considering how to weaponize the Senate, whereas Yoda would never have believed it. Palpatine then switched aggressive tactics at breakneck speed, constantly putting Yoda's force power to the test. Palpatine triumphed simply because a blast of force energy sends Yoda crashing down to the Senate's ground floor, where he suffers too many injuries. There's also an amusing parallel between Palpatine's victory and Obi-Wan's victory over Darth Vader on Mustafar, because Darth Sidious is the one with the upper hand in this case. The common interpretation of the duel in Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith is that Palpatine has been bluffing and manipulating Yoda by giving him false hope. That doesn't hold up to scrutiny. Instead, Yoda gave Darth Sidious a run for his money. Ultimately, Yoda discovered that he lacked the necessary skills to defeat his adversary and was forced to flee. Well, that marks the end of the video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. See you in the next one.